It's my pleasure to have with me on this short interview Mr. Nathan McGregor. Hey, Nathan.
How you doing, Chris? Nice to be here.
Really well, thanks, mate. So we're just here exploring in a timely fashion, in a way, with the world, this concept of health and wellness and
Mm.
mindset as well. And it seems to me, Nathan, there's a plethora of interpretations out there of this thing called wellness. I mean, what is wellness to you?
Um, yeah, I totally agree, and it's something that's morphed over time. I think it traditionally started as the just the idea of exercise and eating or nutrition, and now we're looking at how wellness morphs into things like mental health and emotional health. And so that would be my definition as well, and probably has always been my definition is that wellness encompasses all aspects of lifestyle. Um, and I mean, we're never going to have all those things in balance, but juggling that as much as best we can.
Yeah. And if someone was coming to you as a professional personal trainer, Nathan, and they were clueless on this whole idea of wellness, what would you
Mm.
say is a what would you say would be not a bad starting point?
Um, I find that starting people off on the easiest things is going to be best.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously getting their interpretation of what their definition of wellness is, but yeah, starting with easy things, and the easy things from my perspective are um, things that people perceive are in that wellness bubble already. So things like exercise and how we eat, um, and then we can go into the broader holistic aspect of it. But getting people just moving more, and I'm not saying going to the gym more. I'm saying it might be go out with your kids a couple of times a week on their bikes or something like that. I think people have got too conditioned to this idea of wellness having to involve a gym, and having to involve a membership or a subscription to some kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously I advocate for a paid service, but yeah, it doesn't have to be a paid service. It can be, like I said, going out with your kids, playing sport in the park.
Yeah.
Those simple, easy things.
Yeah. Nice. And in sense of your development, being a PT for what, you 10, 12 years now, Nathan?
11 years this year.
Right. So
Yeah.
what was your initial sort of inspiration or role models to get into the whole business of health and wellness?
Yeah, sure. So originally I was actually going to join the army. I've always been interested in sport and just being active and physical. That's generally been my jam. And so the first idea was to go into the army and be a PTI. I didn't want to be a soldier and didn't want to get deployed. So yeah, go into the army, be a PTI, and just train people to stay at the top of their game. But the idea of going to basic training and the month long process of getting to that square one didn't really appeal to me. So my parents actually introduced me to a personal training course that was happening here in Christchurch, and it kind of went from there. To be honest, was fortunate enough to land my first job at Les Mills. Not a bad place to start off in the industry, which is pretty good. So
Brilliant.
yeah, had some definite good starts, and some really good role models along the way as well. I mean, being at Les Mills, you're immersed in people who have been in the industry for decades,
Yeah.
and just being around those people, you get a good idea of what works and what doesn't. And I always tell people who ask me these kind of questions that I always, within the first year, 2 years, learned 10 times as much being in that environment at Les Mills compared to on my course. Yeah.
And just when it's in sense of clients, Nathan, and breakthroughs,
Yep.
can you perhaps describe maybe a significant or recent client breakthrough that you had with a client in the health and wellness space, and what do you think were the keys to that breakthrough?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a lot of breakthroughs over the years. The major ones that I see are people that get beyond the line of thinking that it's hard or it's difficult or it's challenging, and that it has to be something of that level or of that caliber. Um, and the people that get beyond that, they are the people that have the biggest success and the most ongoing success. And just really educating people that it can be simple little things. You don't have to go to a gym. You can do stuff at home. You can just go out with your kids and your family and that kind of thing. Recent ones that come to mind. I recently just changed gyms, so don't have a lot in the new gym, but in the old gym, recent ones that come to mind are people that they set a goal, set an intention, and generally it's something that it's monumental to them. So it might be a significant event in their life or a sporting event, like more in depth and more meaningful than just weight loss or a certain number on the scale. And setting that big goal, that big meaningful object out there, but then almost kind of forgetting about it and just focusing on the now actions, the daily actions that need to happen to take steps towards that process. And I mean, as I said before, in a nutshell, those people that get beyond the idea that it's going to be hard, but also the people that understand that it is a journey and this isn't going to be success in the next 8 weeks and then that's you for the rest of your life. It's this is what we're going to learn in the next 8 weeks, and then the world just opens up in terms of your possibilities.
Nice. Yeah, so it's sense of the Nathan McGregor success formula, if you like, the health awareness, and you've already alluded to a couple of points there, Nathan. What do you think are the most important components to breakthrough and achievement in health and wellness in your experience?
In my experience, definitely the things that I've stated. So getting beyond the idea that it's hard, investing in the long term would be a huge one. Getting people to really understand that you only get this body once. This is your life. Why not invest in it for the next 40, 50, 60 years type thing? But I think as well, people that really kind of understand that this is not a one-stop shop. This is not a one solution thing. It's not a train with Nathan and for the next however long and you're going to be set. I've always had a philosophy since I started in the industry that I'll train people until they no longer need me. And basically that's my way of imparting as much knowledge on people as I can to put them in a position where they are capable of doing things themselves.
Yeah. Get them to fly so you make yourself redundant.
For sure, absolutely. And I mean, it may seem illogical to work myself out of a job, but to me, that's the greatest satisfaction of seeing people being empowered to go and do their own thing and look after themselves rather than relying on essentially a service like mine.
Yeah, it's similar with coaching, Nathan, with business coaching, leadership coaching. It's actually you're honoring your values when you're walking away. You've arrived at the destination rather than going into sentiment or social. It's actually you've achieved what you set out to achieve.
For sure.
In COVID lockdown that we have through a lot of the world right now, people are at home. I'm at home, training at home, doing online HIIT classes, etc. How would you, Nathan, look at someone perhaps who might be, a pretty good trainer in the health and wellness space, but they've gone home, they're in the week 2, 3, and they're just not doing anything. They've had a sudden, sort of evacuation of motivation. Are there any strategies that you might use? It might be a client of yours who's gone home and they're not doing much. Any strategies you deploy to try and lift that inner sense of motivation with those people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think starting small is a key one. I think, and also just understanding that although we're all in our own little individual bubbles.
Yeah.
We're not alone in this. Everybody else in the rest of the country is in the same situation, and the rest of the world to a certain extent. So understanding that, you're not alone, everybody else is in a very similar position, and just making those small steps, implementing those daily rituals, setting an intention to, if you work on a laptop or, whatever your routine is, being at the start of that routine at a certain time in the morning, say 9 a.m. Okay, I'm on my laptop, I'm ready to do work. Or 8 a.m. is my workout time. And it might be a 15-minute workout. It might be a stretch session. It might be just to walk around the block. Whatever it is, start small and then scale up from there. I think far too many people get lost in the idea of, I'm at home, I've got all this time now. Wow, look at all the possibilities I can do. But then it gets too overwhelming and it goes the reverse effect.
I'm nodding knowingly. Got a great gym downstairs.
Yeah.
Never used it. Not until the lockdown. My wife uses it. I've got it in my brain. I leave the house to go to the gym. So.
Yep, for sure. Yeah.
Now I am using the gym, out of necessity.
Yeah. I think another point as well is that, and this is coming from a professional trainer's point of view, although this is a great opportunity for trainers to build their online business and take it from physical presence to an online presence, and then sure, when business opens back up, they can have both of those aspects running at once. But I think this is a really good opportunity for trainers to just simply with people. And sure, we can go out and get more business, but I reflect on myself a lot, and ask myself, have I connected with all my clients over the last week and a half? Have I made an intention to give them a phone call, like an actual phone call, not a text, not a message on Facebook, a phone call, just check and see how they're doing? Because more than likely, they're probably not working. They're probably at home with their 2 or 3 kids and wife and partner. And, they're probably maybe a little bit lost. Just connection. I think this is a key time for connection over revenue.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I was just checking out the definitions of wellness and well-being, and that it was sort of a news to me in a sense about the social connection of wellness and health. And that's extremely important for a lot of people.
Well,
yeah. I mean, you and I talked the other day on another call, looking at when we separated from our connections, we have to adapt within that.
Yep, for sure. And you only need to look at, and let's go with the fitness industry. The brands that have done or are doing well are the brands that have focused on that connection. They create a community, a group of people centered around one particular idea, and it just blows up from there.
Yeah. When we look at mindset, Nathan, I mean, it's kind of a set of attitudes that we approach and deal with life in and through. Do you have any personal sort of habits or practices that you use day to day? I guess meditation might be one example for some people to foster your, build the resilience within your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And meditation is definitely in there. It's definitely one of them. The biggest thing that I find, and I know you would have heard this already, we talked about this the other day, was that, in a day-to-day kind of sense, lists for me are vital and big, are structured, even if it's just 3 things. And I've actually got a pad in my room that I got through an online course that I'm currently doing. That's my top 3 things to do tomorrow. Yeah. And it's just literally writing down those 3 things. Got a little inspirational quote there and all that kind of stuff, but just setting the intention to check those things off. Yeah. And regardless of how big or small it is, it just gives us a sense of progress moving forward, a sense of accomplishment. And I think once you start making those little wee wins and those little wee gains, it creates or starts to create that momentum that just flows into everything else. Yeah. And if you're anything like me, I know that once I get on a project and I start seeing progress on that project, I can just go with that and run with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, just lists as for me is one, and having a routine. knowing that, like I said before, certain times of the day you're doing certain things, even if you know, get out your Google Calendar or your diary or whatever, and literally just write out, you know, your normal schedule and what you should be doing, what you want to be doing. But then at the same time, I feel not being too attached to that, and understanding that, you know, if you get to 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you feel like going to watch a movie with your kids, go and watch a movie with your kids. It's no biggie. I mean, it's ironic to say it right now, but the world is not going to fall over because you're going to watch a movie with your kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, just having those little wee patterns, and I think as well, and in close conjunction with the whole list thing is just focusing on small steps.
Mm.
You know, I've definitely been through some rough patches in my business and in my lifestyle as well, and when those rough patches occur, and this is probably one of them. You know, I've had a significant decline in active clients training with me. Just focusing on what that next step is, and just focusing on taking one step at a time,
Yeah.
one step at a time, and that's how we make progress. Is that we just focus on one step at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And when we think about, you know, Nathan, mind, body, spirit, and interconnectedness,
Mm.
what's your take on that? In the one system thinking, mind, body, spirit.
Yeah, sure. I'm a firm believer that everything is all connected. You know, you can, whatever you want to call it, God, universal energy, or whatever. But yeah, I believe that our you know, physical body is simply a manifestation of our internal mindset, emotions, and spiritual sense. And depending on where we kind of direct our lives and the path we take, then reflects and shows up in our physical being. I mean, you know, we only have to talk about the, you know, foods that we eat and how that influences our physical body. But then, you know, we talk about the emotions behind the foods we eat and the meaning behind the foods we eat, why we're eating those things, all those behaviors that fuel those physical actions that then result in physical outcomes or physical results. I mean, you would know yourself. We can go sit here for hours and just talk about that kind of thing, and we can go from, you know, superficial level to right down deep. But yeah, I definitely think it's all connected, and when people get an understanding of that and get an understanding of what they're doing, and how it serves a greater purpose than themselves, I think that's truly powerful. And that's where we see some really good changes in people's perceptions, but also their just approach to their own health and wellness.
I'm glad you mentioned food there, because that's my next question, is asking you,
Mm.
Nathan, what's the essence of your approach to nutrition?
Yeah, I love this question. Um, so my essence is, if it works for you, do it.
Mm.
I've always said to people that if you can find a diet, and I'd love someone to find this diet, if you can find a way of eating or a regime of eating where you have the most healthy, best functioning body eating chocolate, then go for it. I'd be all for that diet. I love chocolate. But I think it's people, you know, get too caught up in this way of eating or that way of eating, or, you know, this works for that group of people, so it should work for everyone. No, 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 no. We need to understand that everybody, although we look similar, although we have, you know, whatever it is, 99.999% of similarities, everybody's body's different, and everybody's body is going to respond to certain things in a certain way. Um, and so I think, yeah, if people just go along the lines of trial and error, what's going to work for me? Sure, talk to people like myself and get an idea of what is going to be best and get some guidance. But I know that, for example, a keto-based diet doesn't really work for me. My body loves carbs because that's the way my body is built, and that's the way my makeup is created. Is that my body loves carbs, and I thrive on carbs. Obviously, having everything else in balance as well, but I do thrive because I'm fairly high energy and fairly high metabolism on a carbohydrate-based diet. And I think, yeah, like I said before, people get too caught up in, okay, well, Nathan said this, I must do that. No, 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 you mustn't. Go and investigate what works best for you and your body.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes down to when you eat something, how does it make your body feel? Do you get bloated? Do you get gassy? Do you get nauseous? If you do, take note of that and then work around those foods that cause that to happen, and just investigate how that's going to be beneficial or influence your decisions going forward.
Yeah. I have to say my COVID lockdown dark Ghana diet is going really well. Just half a block a night and I'm sorted.
Good man, Chris. Good man. Good job.
Now,
Maybe I'll go and stock up now.
yeah, with the lockdown, the stress building, it maybe in the domestic environment with the smashing social norms, people can't go out too much. In terms of stress busting strategies or thinking, Nathan, have you got any tips or ideas for viewers, perhaps knitted around a personal example of yours, perhaps when you were stressed out and you went to a certain place or you did a certain thing? Any ideas in that sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I know for me that when I get stressed, and I'll use work as an example, I'm here on my laptop. When I get too overwhelmed with doing things on my laptop and, doing stuff for clients, I have to physically remove myself from this situation and then go and do something else. And that might include also changing my top, because I step out of work mode when I take this top off and go into, casual mode, I guess. But yeah, so removing myself from the situation, going to, maybe just do a stretch in the other room or step out of the house, take the dog for a walk, go for a walk myself. Yeah. But I also think that a lot of people's stress manifests as irritability, and people get fidgety. And I think people need to be aware of that. And when they feel that rising up, that's time for them to go and get physical, because they need to then expend that built up energy. And so it might be just a walk around the block. It might be a walk with a dog, or it might be going into the garage and smashing the crap out of a boxing bag. Whatever it is, I think people need to be more conscious of that now and in times like this than, in normal everyday life. But yeah, so definitely for me, it's being physical. And for me, it can only take a, 15, 20-minute blast. Maybe I'll just sprint around the block a couple of times and then I'm good. And then I'll come back here and maybe do another couple of hours of work and then go for a walk with a dog later. But it's, definitely being physical and definitely expending energy to calm this down.
So being aware of your sort of internal cues and triggers, and then if you're getting irritable, go for a 10-minute jog or something like that.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And always, in times like that, always generally make a point to, if I'm feeling irritable or, fidgety or something like that, make a point to just note how that's feeling, question what's triggering that and what's causing it. And then also question, is that then impacting the output or the outcome that I'm wanting? If it is, then cool. That's a great time and a perfect time to shut that all down, go away and do something else.
Yeah, fabulous. Now, the whole health and wellness industry, we've seen, especially in Christchurch, a plethora of gyms opening. If you look at the future, maybe things shifting through the COVID crisis, have you got any ideas or thoughts about the future of the health and wellness industry? How do you think it might shift and change through the COVID crisis?
I think there's going to be some really good opportunities coming out of this. I do believe, and I have seen it, that health and wellness is shifting and has been shifting for a long time to very much a holistic approach, where personal trainers like myself are becoming almost more life coaches now. And we're having to talk about emotional wellness and mental wellness and that kind of thing, and tie that in on the same level as physical wellness and nutritional wellness. And so I think there's a really good opportunity coming out of this for a lot of trainers and a lot of people in this industry to understand how people's emotional wellness is right now, and then focus more on that in the coming months, years, and future. But also, I think as well, what I mentioned before about connection. It's a vital time to connect with people, and I think the people going forward that are going to be significant in terms of people's wellness and development are people that are going to start making those connections, start cultivating groups and communities. And I mean, sure, there's other ones out there already, your brands that are doing really well already. But going forward, yeah, those brands, they need to focus on keeping that connection. Probably even more so now, because people are going to be out of routine when they get back into it. It's going to be a big shift going from normal life to this, and then trying to get back to normal life and normal routine again. So yeah, focusing on that holistic aspect and that connection approach between groups of people.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, thanks so much for your time today, Nathan. And just before we go, just let viewers know where they can find you if they'd like to connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Titanium Fitness is my business. So on the web, titaniumfitness.co.nz. Also on Facebook, Instagram, Titanium Fitness NZ. Just look up that, click me a message. Always generally sending out videos and stuff for clients every day. Also have a training app online that people can download if they want to, programming or some kind of exercise advice from myself. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much for your time, Nathan.
Hey, no worries at all, Chris. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, Chris. Cheers.
All right.
See you
Bye
later.
now. See you.